Hello friends, welcome. I am so excited to be cutting into this paper collection today. It is just so pretty and it's called The Secret Garden. I've got lots of fun things to play with. I'll show you those here in a moment. But this is the sticker sheet. I went ahead and got the entire bundle because I really kind of looked at the individual pieces and decided, yep, I wanted it all. So there is a bundle option and I'll show you quickly. We'll go through all of what's included. So we've got beautiful, perfect, happy memories. You could definitely mix and match some of those. I love the big bold titles, and then some just really great word sentiments and little journaling spots. I like the little notebook edge on that one. That's a style I just really like. So you can kind of see it has the cutouts there for that torn notebook page. I think that's so cute. Let's set that aside and then we'll look at the papers. Now I've already got these all flipped over and you can see here you've got the pink on one side, yellow on the other. So it's really clever how they actually design this because you can kind of focus on one color scheme or mix them all in. I really like it. So here you have the glacier on one side and then periwinkle on the other. So those are very beautiful patterns. So you could have two of the periwinkle or two of the glacier, and it's the same for the pink and the honey butter over there. Now these are gorgeous florals and same thing. So you've got pinks and whites on one side, or you can go with the yellows. I mean, like I said, you can mix them up if you want to, but I just think how clever that they have given you options like that. And then here we have the periwinkle on one side and then the glacier flowers on the other, and vice versa. So those are the larger florals there, and then you have this kind of like just a more delicate little floral to mix and match with the larger pattern. And again, same thing, glacier on one side, periwinkle, and then you have the honey butter and the peach. So yeah, really think that's very clever. Now the cardstock is really unique. This is not pattern paper. This is cardstock weight, but it's patterned. So you have this really nice kind of almost like reminds me of lattice because we're talking about a garden on one side and polka dots on the other. So again, if you just want to use, do a double page and have that as your background, you get two, or you can flip it over. So there's two different greens in here. One is pine and one is sage, I think, although those do look similar. Maybe, yeah, that one's a little bit lighter. So you've got two of those, and then again in each coordinating color for this collection. So peach, periwinkle, honey butter, and then there is glacier, and then the pine. If you do get the entire bundle, it comes with cardstock. This is solid cardstock rather than the pattern. It comes with everything I'm showing you here in the bundle, but you have solid cardstock and a blueprint to create these pre-designed layouts, and they're very, very pretty. So you've got everything you need right here to, it gives you the cutting directions and it tells you step by step how to put those together. This is, I think, my favorite one here. Isn't that a great layout? There's some stamping from the coordinating stamp set here. You can see it's a beautiful life, and then you do have those florals and leaves and then some nice sentiments in the stamp, and this does have coordinating thin cuts right in here on the magnets. And then this is like the star of the show. These are awesome, and I've already kind of started creating with them the thin cut set. So it's kind of a jumbled mess here. I've got tape stuck to them because I was just having fun cutting things out. So you can see here they actually show you how to layer those flowers, which is so helpful because how many times do we get something we're like, I don't know how this goes together. It's a puzzle. So this is this floral here, and I just cut it out in white because I couldn't wait and just wanted to get this die cut and see what it looks like in my hand. And it has all of these beautiful textured details there. So that's the base layer, and then you have this piece here and it layers right over the top, super easy. But what's cool about this is, do you see that? It has a little slit and this piece tucks into that. So now you have this gorgeous detailed layered floral. Just wait till we add some shading to this and you see it in different colors. It is gorgeous, absolutely stunning. So I'm going to clear these out of the way and we'll bring in the Versamats. I am going to be documenting a memory that took place last March 2024. It was a trip, my very last trip to Close to My Heart. They had a farewell dinner for us. I have a few more photos, but I'm not sure what size I want them printed in, so I went ahead and printed these two. This is my friend Jima and Chelsea, and they were there with me, and it was just really bittersweet. Let me grab the first layout. That's kind of the first part of this. Every year, Close to My Heart would have what we call a founders event, where if you are at a certain level in the company, you go to this founders event and network with like-minded fellow crafters, and it's just a really great time. They pamper you, and it's a wonderful weekend, well worth the trip. But this year was a little bit different, and I know most of you know the story. Stampin' Up! Hosted this year, and it was just kind of, we started the weekend filled with uncertainty, but we left very encouraged and inspired. So this was the beginning of that trip, and I scrapbooked visiting the Stampin' Up! Headquarters, and here we are on the bus riding over, and we got new goodies, and they just did the same, spoiled and pampered us, and it was a really fun time. We got to tour the actual warehouse and meet a lot of the Stampin' Up! Staff, and it was wonderful. So this is, part of the weekend, and then we have our farewell dinner with Close to My Heart. Now, what caught my eye and what made me think to use, or inspired me to use this set of photos, is the wallpaper. So in Close to My Heart, this is a big stairway that goes up to the second level, and they have this just beautiful artwork on the wall wrapping the entire staircase as it bends around, and it's beautiful. It's just like a giant pattern paper that really inspires you. So you can see we've got greens and pinks and yellow and even that glacier color, and I think that this is going to be absolutely beautiful, and I'm just picturing it with these big florals, and I'm really inspired. So let me go ahead and grab some cardstock for the base. As I mentioned, there's a few other photos of the dinner itself, but I have no idea what I'm doing with this layout. I do not have a jumping off point, so I'm not sure what size I want to print those photos yet. I printed this one large as a 4x6 because it's my favorite photo, and then this one's large also because I feel like, that's important. It shows where we were, and it's got Close to My Heart in the photo, and I wanted to make sure that these were kind of the star of the show, and then we'll bring in the supporting photos. Now, oftentimes I will do like this does have a direction to it. You want your flowers facing up. I'll do a pattern paper in kind of like a 3 to 4 inch kind of, strip. And then I love to create layers. So, I think that this would benefit from a darker color behind it. And I just realized, I bet this is Artichoke, which was a brand new color from Close to My Heart. And Stampin' Up! When they released it, they did have a ink pad and paper pack to go with that. And I bet you that is exactly what this is. There's lots of greens. There's Artichoke and sage and pine. That definitely looks like pine. So that must be Artichoke. I did not get that ink pad. It sold out really quickly. And, I just wasn't too sure about it because, there isn't going to be more colors coming out matching that paper. So I decided to pass, and good thing, because like I said, it sold out really fast. So I do like that on the dark patterned cardstock, and I think that might be kind of fun. But what I do know is that I want to embellish with these florals. So where'd that other one go? I don't necessarily want these on this paper because they're going to kind of blend in, right? So I have to, keep that in mind. I mean, I can always bring them to the opposite side, but that's just something to think about when you're designing your papers and where you want everything to go. So I could do something where I just do a strip of this at the top and bottom. What if we don't have any white cardstock and we just go with the pink, and then sometimes you just need something to weigh that down. It's trying to move down on me. And then I'm going to grab the other one here. And I think I'm going to go with the pink, although like I said, there's so many colors in this background wall that I really could go with any direction, but I don't have a lot of opportunities to create with pink because I've got boys and it just doesn't suit them. So I think I'm going to just go for the pink and see what we can come up with here. You know what, I kind of like that because now we have a more neutral canvas and we can create a big cluster of roses or whatever floral this is. I guess they're not roses, but we can do that, and then we have room for a title. And yeah, I think that that's going to be good. So I am going to just go for it and cut these down. Just to play it safe, I trimmed down one piece, and then I, off camera was just looking at it. And if you notice here, we've got white flowers, and then because of the way the pattern paper is, you've got pink. So you could, if you wanted all white, cut this row out, but my original thought was to kind of have these borders going all the way across, and I'm not sure I'm 100% loving it. So I just kind of laid things out, and then I moved this away, and this is kind of how happy accidents start. So this is the offcut of, this piece, and I had just kind of tossed it over to the side like that, and I thought, well, maybe that would work, and we could switch this going up. The flowers do have a direction, but I still think they look okay going that way. And then I can just cut strips, and we could go with a design like this. Since I am using strips, I can actually save a lot of this pattern paper by using cardstock. And then I have 2 strips of the floral paper cut to 1.5 inches wide. And that leaves us with 1 inch on either side where we will tuck in that peach paper. I keep calling it pink, but it's actually peach. Looking at this, I think I want to swap this out for the same colored florals on this side. And then nothing like a little sparkle on a feminine layout to dress it up even more. So I cut 1/4 inch strips of pine glitter paper from my stash, and we'll just finish off the transition. I went ahead and got all of my layers adhered down. I did use pine ink to ink up the edges on the floral paper there, and just to give them a little bit of a contrast. So we can bring this other photo in right here. I think that fits beautifully in the center. And then I did decide to print these other 2 photos. I have a 3x4 and a 3x3. So I figured I can kind of put these in a line underneath this photo here, and then have room for my journaling. And this is a photo. Jeanette Linton is the founder, the owner of Close to My Heart, and at our farewell dinner, she is there. And she showed up with her family to, wish us a farewell. And it was just, there was not a dry eye in the house. It was so just incredibly emotional. But we all lined up and took our turn getting to have a moment with Jeanette and just express our gratitude. And I had actually never met her in person. So I was beginning by introducing myself, and she stopped me and said, "I know who you are. I watch every one of your videos." And you guys, I was fighting tears. I did not expect that at all. And it was just really one of those little moments you will hang on to for ever. So we can go ahead and start bringing in the embellishments, but at first I was kind of thinking I might want to add, we have a lot of room here, and I'm going to possibly put the title up here and then cluster my florals around the bottom, but we still have enough room. We could bring in some of this paper just to kind of add some more layers. I think I'm going to do that. This is 7 inches by 9, and I kind of like that. And our flowers will still kind of pop off the background there. Rather than ink up the edge of that one, I thought I would just bring in some pine cardstock here, and that'll really give that some nice definition. And yeah, I like it. It's looking good. I'll probably find some way to bring in this paper to this side, but we'll worry about that when we get there. Let's go ahead and create some embellishments. So I've got my little die cutting machine here, and then I'm going to die cut these from White Daisy scraps. So let's just start. I'm eventually going to die cut all of these, but we'll do just a couple here on camera. And I do like to secure mine down with tape. You don't have to, but it's just something I do. I've had dies shift as they go through, and if they kind of get underneath each other, you can damage them. So it doesn't take long just to tack it down with a little tape to be safe. I need my paper piercer here to pop that out. Where is it? It's it's hiding from me. So let me show you the detail on this first layer. Isn't that pretty? I just love it. So again, you could cut these from colored cardstock. I'm just cutting them from white, and I will add a little ink blending to these. And then for the leaves, there's like several leaves. You've got this one that makes like a bud, and then a pair of small leaves and a single leaf. And I'm using pine cardstock. Great way to use up those green scraps of paper there. We'll get these die cut out. I went ahead and got a bunch of flower pieces cut out and some of the different leaves, and there's also this really sweet little sprig here that layers. So you have the base layer, which is green, and then you have the little top little blossom part. So that's two different dies, and I wanted to show you a little trick. If you pull this out of your die cutting machine, and this will be sitting on your plate, leave it there because some of them came out, some of them stayed in, and just, you know, go through the holes, pop each one out, and they will be in the exact position to match up with your sprig. So then you could just take a little bit of glue and a pickup tool or a wax pencil and pick those up and put them directly on the image, and you won't have to fuss around with which one goes where. If you just leave them how they came out of the die, it makes that super quick to do. I'm going to go ahead and get these adhered down. So just one little drop of glue on each blossom, and then again using a wax pencil or some type of pickup tool makes this job much easier. Stay tuned to the end because after we finish the layout, I do have several cards to share with you where I utilized my scraps. So you definitely want to see those. For my ink blending on the flowers, I'm going to use peach ink and a blending brush. So these two tinier little petals here, they make a little bud, like a little rose bud. I keep calling these rose, and then I think they're not roses, but then I think they are. So I don't know. We can, you know, we're going to call them a rose. So this makes a tiny little rose bud, and I extend the color up farther on the back layer so that it peeks out from underneath, and then a little bit of glue on this tiny little stem here, and there you have it. Super easy to do. Now for the larger flowers, I just want the color radiating out from the center, so I am applying this light. I want it to be just a hint of color. I kind of liked the flowers white, but this is just making them a little bit more unique and giving them a little glow and helping to define those layers. I have sped this up quite a bit. I just wanted to show you the process of a few flowers, and then I will do the rest off camera. So I'm using my liquid glue, and again, this one has that tiny little slit that you can poke that petal down into. And then this second flower, there are 3 layers to each of them actually, and they make a different shape, which is really nice for building embellishment clusters. For the flower center, it would be fun to finish those off with like an enamel dot or liquid pearls or anything of that nature, but they do have a die, which is what I'm going to use. And I chose honey butter to cut out my flower center. We'll get that tacked down right in the center. I went ahead and got a whole bunch of flowers made. They're inked up and adhered together, and I even did a little smaller version. And if you're wondering what on earth happened to my hand between just moments ago and now, I had a little bit of a squirrel moment. So as I was creating these flowers, my mom called, and I picked up the phone to have a chat and see what she was up to. And then looking around my craft room, kind of distracted, I thought to myself, I wonder if my re-inkers would fit on this little shelf right to my right. So I went to get a re-inker, and the lid was left off of my Harbor ink, which is completely my fault, and I didn't realize it until it was dripping through my fingers. Now luckily it just got on myself and my shirt, and it's just a work shirt, so crisis averted. It would have been much worse had I dripped that all over my project. So yeah, make sure your lids are on tight, guys, because it's a craft room accident there. But yeah, I was like, oh goodness, they'll understand. You guys understand, right? How many of us have had ink on our fingers a time or two? We can go ahead and start bringing in all of those gorgeous florals and creating our embellishment cluster. As I mentioned, I am envisioning one below the photos here. And one thing I like to do is create an L shape around the photo. It kind of frames it in, and these flowers will lend themselves well to that design concept. So I have all three of the floral images here, the little rosebud and then the two different larger florals, and then lots of leaves, and then we will tuck the little sprigs in as well. Oh yeah, and I wanted to tell you, if you are watching this video on the day of its release, which is Tuesday, July 23rd, Stampin' Up! Is having a 1-day only free shipping day. How awesome is that? So if you have some items that you've kind of been just letting hang out in the cart, sometimes I do that. I put them in the cart and then I think about it and I think, is there anything else I want? Well, it's a good time to take advantage of that and close out that shopping cart and get that free shipping. Okay, I think I'm happy with my embellishment cluster. We can move over to the right-hand side, and I do want to mat this photo on some peach cardstock just to help that kind of pop off the darker background there. I pulled this off for a potential title, Enjoy These Moments, and that would definitely work, and that's kind of what I had envisioned, because there's also the stamp set, It's a Beautiful Life, and I was thinking I could use that up there. There are lots of title options on the sticker sheet, but I could do Beautiful Memories, but I didn't want to bring in the purple to this layout, and you can always color them, so I could go over that with pine ink and use that, and that would definitely work. So that's an idea. Same thing, happy, I can change the color of that. I can go over it with a darker ink. But I think that let's try this stamp for now and see how the It's a Beautiful Life works. I'm going to use my stamp positioner, so I've got that mounted to the door of my MISTI, and we'll use some white cardstock here. Now I do want it to be a nice bold color, so I'm going with pine. The Enjoy These Moments is in a darker color, and I like that visual weight up there, so I think that this will be a good choice. We'll ink it up again, and I think it might be fun to use the Spotlight on Nature die to cut this into a circle. So this one here is going to cut off my banner, but I have an idea for that. This one includes the banner, but I think what I'm going to do is use a smaller circle. I stamped and fussy cut the banner out in sage, and I decided there wasn't enough contrast between it. The word beautiful is a little bit difficult to read compared to using a darker color. So you can see in beautiful with the pine versus the sage. So I did go ahead and stamp it again in pine, and we'll just pop that up, and I think that looks a lot better. I love the idea of two different colors. You have this part of the title in dark and then the light, but yeah, I think that this looks better due to the word beautiful. So we'll go ahead and go with this one for now. I added some foam tape to the back of that banner to give it a little dimension, and then I went through my stash of dies and grabbed my doily die cuts. So I have a couple different ones in peach here, and you know what, I don't think that's going to work in that corner. This is sage, and let's see if this maybe just overlaps. It's covering too much of my photo. What if we tucked it underneath the photo and then have the title overlapping the top? I like that. That works. I think I am happy with this option for my title. So now I'm going to redirect my focus to embellishing the right-hand side. We'll set that aside. I don't think I'm going to use that. But we have all of these florals that we can work with. So I'm just going to kind of frame in this corner photo here. And I want to use this, Enjoy These Moments. So we could kind of work that into the embellishment cluster. And yeah, I'm just tucking and arranging these little florals until they kind of fall into a place that looks good to me. I love that this paper can have like this romantic kind of old-fashioned look to it, but I've seen other people use it where depending on which colors you use and which papers, it can take on a different tone, and I think that's really neat how versatile it is. Now I want to carry some white to the top of the layout, so I took one of my die sets and cut a tag here, a little tab. We'll put that up there. And then I have this stamp set. This is called This Happened, and there's lots of great scrapbooking phrases on here, but there is this word that says remember. And I think that is going to be very appropriate, but you know what? It's not really fitting on that. So I grab my little sentiment bin, I use these for cards a lot, but they're also perfect for, you know, embellishing like this. And that will definitely fit the word remember. So I am going to use pine ink. We'll ink up the stamp really well and make sure we're centered. Give it a moment, and yeah, I like it. I printed out my journaling and went ahead and put a dovetail in the end, and I want this in this area, but yeah, that's not going to fit. What if we bump the photo up just a bit? There's nothing important in the lower corner of that photo, so I think I can get away with it. And then I mentioned wanting to bring this pattern paper over to this side, so I'm thinking I can cut a second dovetail. I'm going to line those two up so I can just use this as a guide to have them be at the same angle. I'm going to add a little pine ink to the edge of these pieces just to tie them in with the other side. And you know, looking at my photos now offset like that, I kind of like it. It gives it a little bit of character and interest rather than having them in a straight line. So let's go ahead and tuck this under here, just like that. Now I am really liking how this is coming together, but if this is feeling a little bit too busy for you, you could of course, you know, not go with so many of the florals, or you could skip that pattern paper, the second pattern paper banner, and print your journaling on vellum and just put vellum in that space. It would be softer and you would see the green paper coming from behind it and it would look less full. Hopefully that's making sense, but I kind of think this is looking good. So I'm going to add this small flower and the smaller leaves over to this area here. Now we need to find a home for this last little sprig. There's lots of places this little guy could live. So we're almost done, and don't forget I have some beautiful cards to share with you featuring this paper collection and these dies, so stay tuned for that. I am going to bump this over to the outside edge there, and I will go ahead and get everything glued down off camera. I do want to add one tiny little cluster up to this area here. I felt like it just needed a little something else to tie it in with the other embellishment clusters. So it's like a miniature version. This bundle does come with coordinating dots in all of the colors. Now I had the peachy ones in my stash, so I went ahead and used those first. And I wanted more just like a tone on tone, a subtle look. It's just adding some texture. And I sprinkled those around each of the embellishment clusters. There I am, standing behind the sign one last time. Let me scooch this out of the way so I can show you the cards here. I have 5 cards and they're all the same color scheme because it's what I had out on my desk. I already had the inks and the bits left over from this, so I just kind of ran with those for my inspiration. And this sentiment here, a little note to brighten your day, is from the Changing Leaves stamp set. This is an online only special out right now. You've probably been seeing lots of beautiful things from others with that stamp set. I just got it, so that's all I've used it for so far. But there'll be lots more. I love leaves. But I've added a few of the honey butter enamel dots there, and I really like this card. I just, you know, it looks like it has a ton of dimension, but I didn't add any foam tape, so that is not too bulky at all to go through the mail, which is really nice. For this card, I wanted to incorporate some of these stamped images. I've been focusing mainly on the dies in this set, so I wanted to give these guys a little bit of love, and I used masking to mask off the images and create just a black and white focal cluster behind the die that I die cut these florals in peach paper and just use some of the scraps. This is one of the pattern paper strips off of one of the sheets of paper in this collection, and then I've backed it on peach paper just to, it's the light side and then this is the dark side. And the thanks so much set is from the Latte Love collection. So I love having little linear sentiments that you can stamp on you know, little strips of cardstock like that. And the little dotted banner piece is a close to my heart die from my stash. So that's my second card there. Scoot these over here so I have room for all of them. My third card, I have embossed the background. There is no easier way to dress up a card than with an embossing folder, and that is, you can see the circular pattern on there. It is this one here. It's called Dotted Circles 3D Embossing Folder, and this is a very large embossing folder. This is great for adding to scrapbook layouts because of the size lends itself well. It is actually, let's see here, 6 by 8.5. So yeah, really great size. Think of that in your December dailies too for like a background if you do 6 by 8 albums. But I love the way it just added some texture to the white background, and it draws your eye right into the center sentiment there, hello friend, and that sentiment is from a past paper pumpkin kit that I had in my stash. So yeah, I've just kind of done an L-shaped cluster, much like what we've done here around the photo, and instead of the photo, our focal point is the sentiment. So I really like the strips of the darker green bordering the lighter peach paper there. My fourth card also uses the dotted circle embossing folder, and close to my heart cardstock has a white core, so you can do some of these really cool sanding techniques to reveal the texture in the, bringing out the white core, and it just really makes that pattern pop. So this card was inspired by the right hand side of my scrapbook layout. So you can see I have the same, strips of pattern paper on the side, and then the 2 strips of glitter paper, and then your center panel, which is where your focal point goes. So here's the photos. Here I have used the sentiment, and this one here, My Heart Goes Out to You, is from, let me grab that. This stamp set's called the Unbounded Love stamp, and it's just a collection of sentiments, and you can kind of mix and match some of these, but it's really, if you don't have a lot of sentiments in your collection, this one has a good mix. There's sympathy, happy birthday, best of luck, which could be like graduation or just different occasions like that, celebrate, hello. But yeah, I really like the scripty writing on some of these, so that's where that came from. And the little scalloped doily here is a retired Close to My Heart die from my stash. Last but not least, we have this sweet little card. I've used the same hello friend sentiment you see here from the paper pumpkin stamp in my stash, and this is the Spotlight on Nature die that puts that cute little detailed edge there. And you guys have seen me, if you have been watching my channel, I've been using these a lot. There's different sizes with different detailing around the border there. And then I wanted my floral smaller, so I just used the top 2 layers like I did here on the layout, and then tucked in the smaller leaves. So I hand cut this little tag shape and then just stapled a little bit of ribbon at the top, and yeah, I think that that is super cute. I will be sharing these over on my Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest accounts. Sometimes it takes me a day or 2 to get all of the photos out. You wouldn't believe that it can be difficult and not difficult, but time consuming to photograph artwork, get it watermarked, and all the things. So look for that over there, and I hope these inspire you. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and click that like button. It does help me out here quite a bit on YouTube. All of the supplies will be listed in the description box below, and if you need help ordering the Close to My Heart branded product from Stampin' Up, just reach out to me through my website and I'll be happy to help you. Thank you so much for watching. Happy crafting!